Hello, I'm Rob Ryan. I'm joined by Peter Colston, who will answer various questions that will help us see what the Bible says. This time, we're looking at what the world is coming to. Now, most would agree that there are lots of things wrong with our world, and many would say it is getting worse rather than better. Peter, can you tell us what the Bible has to say about a better time for our world?
Yes, in fact, several Old Testament prophets write of a time when problems such as war and injustice will be no more. Isaiah 2, for example, shows that the nations will not go to war anymore. We read, "He shall judge between the nations and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more." And the phrase there, beating swords into plowshares, infers that items used today for military use will be turned into farming implements. Psalm 72 again describes a world of fairness, ruled over by God's king. Psalm 72 verse 1 says, "Give the king your judgments, O God, and your righteousness to the king's son." And in verse 4 we read, "He will bring justice to the poor of the people. He will save the children of the needy and will break in pieces the oppressor." A world like this would be very different from our present world and much better for us all.
It would be great to have a world like that, but who is this king who will transform our world?
Well, the king is Jesus. He identifies himself as the king because he tells his disciples that the Psalms and the prophets talk about him. For example, in Luke chapter 24, "Then he, Jesus, said to them, These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." So we can see that the description of the king we looked at in Psalm 72 is talking about Jesus. To be able to transform our world, Jesus must come back. When Jesus went into heaven, the apostles were assured by angels that he would come back. They told them this in Acts chapter 1. "Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? The same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven." This verse makes it clear that Jesus will come back to the earth. He will come back as the king mentioned in Psalm 72.
You say that Jesus will come back to the earth. Does the Bible tell us when he will come back?
Yes, Jesus told his disciples what the world would be like when he comes back. In Luke chapter 21, he says this, "There will be distress of nations with perplexity, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." And the word perplexity there means no way out. World leaders are grappling with many problems facing our world with no apparent solution. Many fear the effects of climate change. So we can see that Jesus will come back at a time very much like our own, when the world is in a mess.
World leaders tend to want to hang on to power. Surely they won't like being told what to do. How will Jesus implement all these improvements?
Well, Jesus will not only have God's wisdom, but he'll also have God's power to make nations submit to him. We have already seen what Jesus said in Luke chapter 21. In verse 27, we read, "Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." When Jesus returns, he will have God's power to help him transform the earth. The Apostle Paul told the believers in Corinth that Jesus will overcome all opposition. In 1 Corinthians 15, verse 24, "Then comes the end, when he delivers the kingdom to God the Father, when he puts an end to all rule and all authority and power." So Jesus will have the authority and power to put down any opposition from current leaders.
All this sounds very good, but what part can we as individuals have in all of this?
Well, again, it's Paul who, when he writes to Timothy, tells us that if we remain firm to our belief in Jesus, we will reign with Christ. He says this in 2 Timothy chapter 2, "If we endure, we shall also reign with him." And the last book of the Bible, which was Jesus' final message, picks up this idea of reigning with Jesus after the resurrection, when it says, "Blessed and holy is he who has part in the first resurrection. They shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years." In the Old Testament, priests were those who taught God's ways to his people. So you can see that we can help Christ teach people God's ways and sort out our world's problems. These problems seem to be increasing every day, but the Bible assures us that God will eventually intervene and send Jesus back. He will then rule the earth together with those that have committed their lives to him. So, what is the world coming to? In this video, we have seen that the God of the Bible has a very clear plan. God will send Jesus back and give the world and to those that obey him a much better future.
Thank you, Peter. We hope you will now have a better idea about what the world is coming to. You can see more about the Bible message using the links on this page. You can use the Contact Us page if you have any questions about what Peter has said. Thank you for your interest in our information.